Now, this year's Freedom Day is providing anything but that because of the national lockdown. A huge number of unemployed people are locked in poverty and are yet to taste the fruits of real freedom. Let's discuss this now with Luvuyo Madasa. He's a Change South Africa Executive Director, as well as Athambile Masola from the University of Pretoria, and she's a lecturer there. And Nkosi, very much to both of you, my guests, for joining us. But Luvuyo, let me start with you. So if you were born in the year in which the Organization for African Unity was established, you would be 57 years old this year. And of course, in South Africa celebrating Freedom Day, you're 26 years old. When we come back, how would you characterize South Africa's democratic dispensation?
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Buti. Please go ahead.
So I'd say the journey into our democratic dispensation is best represented, unfortunately, by the news coverage that's currently been happening ever since the break of COVID-19, where you see the realities showing two different types of South Africa. So while we have gone a low ground in the space of democratic freedom, you start seeing that the very many slogans that we've had over the last 25 years aren't necessarily making it into reality in every people's daily lives. And for the first time, because we are at home in front of our televisions wanting to get the most and the most current and informative news about how to deal with the current crisis, we are learning as a country at the same time that very many people's realities make it very difficult for them to adhere to social distancing. Some of the living conditions don't allow them to essentially, avoid the fact that they have to share communal lavatories and those types of issues that are also associated with the lack of running water. So I think while we've made leaps and bounds in some spaces, there are apparent realities that now are more top of mind than before for many South Africans, that we still have a long ways to go.
Sis Athambile, what would you say this crisis tells us about how democracy anticipates issues of women? We take a look, women are the domestic workers, women are at the front line, et cetera, et cetera. How would you say that democracy anticipates women's issues?
I think that's one of the shadows of our democracy that we haven't quite spoken about. So a lot of the commentary has also been about, democracies are dealing with growing inequality. No one comes to us and says, how do we stop that growing inequality? And because the people who often bear the brunt of that growing inequality, as you've mentioned, are women, those people are seldom actually in the room. They represent the minority, or the people who are, they represent the civic society, they represent people as civic organizations. So for me, it's the lack of people in the room. Who is in the room when we're talking about the people who are making decisions in these so-called democratic power structures?
But Luvuyo, I'd like us to play this bite of the finance minister addressing us last week and what he said about the new economy. Let's take a look, listen.
1990, when I returned to South Africa from exile, 8 out of 10 workers at a restaurant were South African, and 2 probably Malawian or Zimbabwe. And today, almost 100% is non-South African. So the new economy that we're getting into after the lifting of the lockdown must answer that question. That any establishment wanting to reopen must have a new labor market policy which prioritizes South Africans, but does not discriminate against Zimbabwean or Malawians. But the proportion of South Africans working in a restaurant must be greater than that of non-South Africans. That's a new economy that we're talking about.
Luvuyo, South Africa has grappled with stubborn levels of inequality for years now. This proposed new economy, from what we hear, we don't have as much detail as yet. Do you think it will go some way in making a change? The president also proposing to invest in a new society, new consciousness, and this new economy.
I think the element of the new consciousness is very key in us coming together and building this new economy. Quite realistically, a focus that speaks to putting priority on SMEs, how do we grow those vehicles that are driving employment and helping with the intention of making sure that people have access to livelihoods in a meaningful and respectful and something that celebrates people's humanity. And I think it's quite important for us to leverage technology to start being able to make sure that the various different programs that are running, how do we make sure that technology helps eliminate the red tape and start, introducing real-time interaction between the people that are on the ground, these solutions that we're looking to put together that still drive the inclusivity that our nation needs. And I think that consciousness that starts saying, you as an individual, you as a able-bodied and productive member of society, what can you start doing in your community? What can you start doing? And what kind of attitude are you bringing when the lockdown has been lifted to your spaces of work?
Final word from you, Sis Athambile. South Africa has been dealing with issues of gender-based violence for a while, but this lockdown exposing the levels to which even more, I guess, high numbers of gender-based violence since we went under lockdown. What has been your observation of this phenomenon?
It means that there's no capacity in the state. So, and the irony, of course, is that this is something that could have been dealt with at least a year or two ago, if you remember the total shutdown and the demands that were made. And so what this has highlighted is that something even as large-scale as total shutdown, the government didn't respond to those demands, because if they had, they would have built the capacity. So, for example, there are only, I think, there are less than 50 shelters available in South Africa, and they have beds only for 1,718 people. And if you think of what the numbers have looked like with the command center, the GBV command center, the numbers have tripled. So that means the state hasn't actually prepared, and so that means the state is quite glaringly not preparing for the most vulnerable people, which they knew about, which they had the opportunity to deal with. And now all of a sudden it looks like they've been caught off guard, but they haven't. And so for me, it's highlighted once again how the state needs to really take account of the ways in which society says, here are the ways in which you can deal with this, and they haven't.
Something about the more things change, the more they stay the same. Enkosi kakhulu. Luvuyo Madasa, Change South Africa Executive Director, and Athambile Masola is a lecturer at the University of Pretoria.